Looks like that's everybody. Item 2.0, committee reports. Is Kathy on?
I think I saw her.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, I saw her iPhone.
she was on just a minute ago.
Yep.
Here she's gone.
Kathy, I thought they said
There's-
Kathy was going to be a little bit late or something.
There,
There's
There-
Kathy.
She's
There she
driving.
is. Yes. Now we can start.
Hi, Kathy.
Hi,
2.0
can you
committee
hear me?
reports. Yes, we can hear you fine.
Oh, okay, sorry, I got kicked out, so apologize. So you have the F&F minutes. We had a very good meeting the other day. I just want to call out a couple things. One is we talked a lot about the balanced budget and the fact that in a very unusual year, the college and the senior team and faculty have just done an outstanding job getting us to where we are this year. And also an applaud to the finance team going through a Department of Education and Department of Defense audit and really coming out with a clean bill of health on both. So a lot of good information was had in the minutes before you. Happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, take a motion to approve.
Any questions for Trustee Connerton? Okay, can I have a motion to approve the minutes for the committee?
So moved.
Moved by Kathy,
Second.
second by Jim. All in favor?
Aye.
hi,
Any
Aye.
opposed? Any abstentions? So moved. Item 3.0, preferred agenda. I think items 3.1 through 3.7 were covered in F&F. So can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Margaret,
Second.
Second.
second by Barb. All in favor?
hi,
Aye.
hi.
Any? All right, that's everybody. Is Bonadino on yet?
Don't see anybody.
Okay, let's move to item 4.0, action items. 4.1, recommend approval of the new AA 4003 open access policy. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Sharon, second,
Second. Second.
second by Kathy. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Hi,
Aye.
hi,
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? So moved. 4.2, recommend approval of revised FI 6003 operating budget transfer policy. Can I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Moved by Margaret, second by Barb. Any discussion? All in favor?
Hi, hi,
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? So moved. 4.3, recommend approval of revised F1 6004 travel policy. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Connerton,
Second.
second by Jim. All in, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
hi,
Aye. It's unanimous. 4.4, recommend approval of new GA 2010 gender neutral bathroom policy. May I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Moved by Margaret,
Second.
Second,
second by Kathy. All in favor?
Aye.
hi,
Aye.
Approved. 4.5, recommend approval of resolution for the new music recording and production AS program.
I'll move that.
Motion. Who was that? Sharon?
Yeah. I'll
Sharon?
move that.
May I have a second? Barb? Any discussion? All in favor?
Hi,
Aye.
hi.
Unanimous. Is Bonadino on yet?
I don't see him.
Okay, 5.0. Dr. Drum, you want to give us the president's report?
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. Great to see a bright day out there and some light at the end of the COVID tunnel, especially the warm weather, piling on top of the rapidly now moving vaccines. I had my windows open today. The CDC says you decrease your chances of contracting it like times 10 if you can let fresh air into your room. So I had the windows in the office open today for the first time in the season, and it was terrific. Want to recognize Irene Burns, our Phi Theta Kappa advisor, for winning a national award from Phi Theta Kappa for being one of annually being one of the best advisors in the nation. We have one of the most active chapters in the nation. The Society for Our Best and Brightest Students, Academic Honor Society, and we're so fortunate to have an advisor like Professor Burns, who's been advising this group for decades now, and just doing a fantastic job. In fact, all of our student group advisors, I want to thank them as well. But Irene just really does a stellar job with our Phi Theta Kappa students and all the programs they put on. Thank you to everyone involved with testing, which is our group, and our volunteers from our nursing program and probably some other health science programs as well. It's been going very smoothly. We've been hitting the mark of testing 100% of our faculty, staff, and students pretty much every week as they come through. We don't have a lot of students on campus, but it was nice today in the beautiful weather to see them milling around campus. So thanks to everyone involved with our testing program. Vaccines continue to go smoothly. I guess we had a little glitch yesterday or today with shipment, but those things are bound to happen if you've been expecting things to come from wherever, FedEx, the U.S. Post Office, or UPS. Shipping these days is just crazy, but the process itself has been going very smoothly. So thanks to all of our folks who've been pitching in, our custodial, our safety, campus safety crew, and our IT folks supporting the county's operation up there. I got nothing but positive comments when I'm out and about and bumping into people about their experience when they've entered our ICE center to get their vaccines. A topic we don't hear a whole lot about, you'll be hearing more about as we emerge from COVID. The Kaufman Southern Tier Incubator that we partner in with the university completed its first strategic plan. Kind of hard to believe. It's still kind of a startup after a few years operating downtown, and lots still happening there, and a fair amount of activity and a lot of success with the businesses that have incubated there, and our Educational Opportunity Center, which operates out of there. At some point in the not too distant future, we'll have a presentation on what has been going on, and we'll share the strategic plan with you. I think you'll like it, and our continued role in that. I participated along with a few others, including I saw Professor Mahalik on the Zoom here this afternoon, who is our civic engagement point person, and we'll be talking about that in a few minutes, and others, and Dr. Ross and her poet aunt, with commenting on a one act play called Rhapsody in Black on late Saturday afternoon. I think we had about 30 or so people Zoom in with us to see the panel. Hopefully they were able to see the play. First, what a talent Mr. Gant is, who was the actor and writer of the play. I mean, flawless elocution for 90 minutes, and what he had to memorize is way beyond anything I can even imagine. And just a very powerful play, kind of thumbnail of his experience as a Black man growing up in America, and then later a young adult growing up in America. Just a fantastic experience, and thank you to Dr. Ross for putting that on. We'd like to see more people involved in that sort of thing, but we just gotta keep at it. And more on that shortly from Dr. Ross on our new institutional learning outcome that was passed by the Council for Academic Issues just yesterday. But I'll leave that to Dr. Ross and Dr. Haynes. Of course, which is really big news. That's bigger news actually. This ILO for us, for SUNY and the nation actually. But the immediate big news, because it's happening, the rubber's hitting the ground. Rubber's hitting the road here with Middle States beginning Sunday night. You've all seen all kinds of communication regarding all of our participation in the various Middle States meetings that we'll have with the visiting team starting Sunday night through Wednesday morning. The biggest challenge we're going to have will be the open forums and trying to have those conducted as naturally as possible. It could get a little unwieldy trying to have a giant open forum with maybe dozens of people on and being able to have a relatively natural interaction with them via a Zoom. So if you participate in any of those, just please bear with us and have patience as we try to work our way through those larger open meetings. And I'll end my report there with reserving 30 seconds of my time for later in the meeting, Mr. Chair, unless anybody has any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Drum. Any questions for Dr. Drum? Okay, we're going to go to Alan from the Bonadillo Group to give us an overview of the auditor's presentation, of the audit, actually.
Yes, thank you. And we apologize. I think we had a mix up with our links, but we are here now. Just to introduce myself, my name is Alan Walther. I'm a partner with the Bonadillo Group and on the call as well. I don't see him at the moment, but I did see him previously, is Joe Hero. Joe is a principal with the Bonadillo Group. We have completed our audit of the college for your year ended August 31st, 2020, and have issued draft reports, which I believe have been distributed to everyone. So we'd just like to give a brief report on the overall results of our audit and then open it up to any questions. The report is in a draft format. Upon approval tonight, we'll issue them in their final form. We did do the vast majority of our audit procedures remotely. So a big thank you to Jeanette and Julie for all your efforts in uploading information we have a secure client portal that we use. We're also given access to Banner. So that was very helpful. So the audited financial statements, if you have them in front of you on page 59 of the financial statements is the overall results of the audit. We will be issuing an unmodified opinion on the college's financial statements. That is the highest level of assurance that we can give on your financial statements. That is the opinion that all of the users of the financial statements will be looking for. With regard to internal control over financial reporting, we did not identify any material weaknesses or any significant deficiencies, and we also did not identify any significant non-compliance. With regard to your federal awards, no material weaknesses were identified, no significant deficiencies were identified. We will be issuing an unmodified opinion on your compliance with federal awards. No audit findings this year. And the major programs that we audited the HERF program, which was your CARES Act money that passed through to you. And we audited the student financial aid cluster. Okay, so the overall results of the audit were very favorable. Unmodified opinion on your financial statements, no internal control findings, no federal award findings. If you have the report, I'm going to flip all the way back to page 1, which is our independent auditors report. And the important information here is on it's actually on page 2 with our opinion, which I will paraphrase. In our opinion, the financial statements present fairly the financial position of Broome Community College as of August 31st, 2020. Again, that's what we call an unmodified opinion. That is the highest level of assurance we can give on your financial statements. If you have your financial statements and flip to page 15 is the college's statement of net position. What this represents is a snapshot of your financial position as of August 31st, 2020, the end of your most current fiscal year. The highlights here, your total assets and deferred outflows were $112 million. Your total liabilities were $81,232,000. You had deferred inflows of $23 million. The accounting formula is your assets and deferred outflows minus your liabilities and deferred inflows, bring you to your total net position, which is right at the bottom of the page. Your total net position at the end of the year was $7,672,000, of which $71,902,000 is invested in capital assets, and the college had an unrestricted deficit of $64 million. That deficit is primarily a result of the way that you account for your other post-employment benefits, which were $56 million, and the school districts, the college's participation in the state pension plans. And then on page 16 is your operating financial statement. The highlights here, your operating revenues were $20,240,000. The increase this year is the federal grants where the HERF money ran through there. Your total operating expenses, $66,422,000. The college had an operating loss of $46.2 million. You had non-operating revenue of $43 million, which is your federal and state aid primarily, and county appropriations of $4.4 million. So you had a net change in your net position for the year, actually grew by $1,183,000 to bring you to your net position at the end of the year of $7,672,000. The only other report that I wanted to bring to your attention is on page 57, which is the college's schedule of expenditures of federal awards. This is what drives the need to have a single audit, the federal audit that I spoke about previously. And again, the highlights here is the new higher education emergency relief fund, the HERF monies that were passed through as a result of the CARES Act. Approximately $3.9 million was a new major program that we audited this year. That is the extent of my comments, unless there are any questions from the board members.
Thank you, Alan. Any questions?
Thank you.
Okay, great job, Alan. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Item 5.2, Middle States Update, Trustee Ball. Can you unmute yourself?
Sorry. Okay. As Dr. Drum mentioned, the long-awaited visit of the Middle States team it's arrived. As you know, the board has been invited to a welcome session on Sunday, the 28th from 6 to 7. All this is virtual, of course. The official meeting with the board and the team is scheduled for Monday, March 29th from 11:30 to 12:30. And the team will meet with the Middle States Steering Committee on Monday, March 30th from 8:45 to 9:30 a.m. There's also a webinar.
Is that Tuesday or Monday?
I'm
Sharon?
sorry, the Monday, March 30th, that's the board, that's the Middle States meeting.
Okay.
Middle States meeting with the team is Monday, March 30th from 8:45 to 9:30. Did I say Tuesday? And the steering committee will be making a presentation in the form of a webinar. There'll be no questions and we'll all be muted. If the board wants to attend that, that's March 31st at 11 a.m. So that's the schedule that I think we've all been made aware of. I just emphasized it. And I'll be attending just about every one of these except the steering committee presentation. I have a conflict that day. I also wanted to mention that I am leaving the board, as I have informed everyone, effective April 30th. and for health reasons, personal health reasons. And I wanted to thank you for all that you have taught me, because I've learned a great deal since I've been on this board. And I really enjoyed working with all of you. And I regret that I'll be leaving before my official time is up. But I take with me a deeper knowledge of the way this SUNY Broome operates, an appreciation for Dr. Drum's leadership, an appreciation for all of your commitment to this board and this community, this school. And I'm just really impressed with all of you. And I'll see you around town. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Ball, and thank you for your service to the board. And we wish you the best moving forward.
Yeah, I think
Thank you.
Sharon's done a great job. I think Sharon's done a great job on this board, and other boards that I've been on with her too. She's done a great job. So
Oh,
we'll
thank you.
go and miss her.
Thank
Yes,
you.
we will.
Sharon,
Yes,
we're
we
gonna
will.
miss you much more
Thank you very much.
Thank
in
you.
our prayers.
All right, item 5.3, Council of Operational Issues, Brittany Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a few updates for the Council for Operational Issues. One is we are continuing to review and evaluate the shared governance assessment recommendations for areas of improvement. A proposal of different options for 2-year chair terms was presented to COI on March 11th. Feedback is currently being collected. And then in addition, for continued improvement as well, we are planning on sending out this semester a campus-wide survey just to get a feedback from campus on how they think shared governance is serving them, so that we can better serve the campus and shared governance's position on campus. We presented a memo to Executive Council with a recommendation that a campus-wide procedure be developed for the communication of new hires and position changes. This recommendation was accepted by Executive Council in the form that after the Board of Trustees meeting each month, information on new hires or position changes on campus will be sent out via the Share Your News form on campus, so that people are aware of new hires or position changes on campus. The spring Your Voice Matters is currently being planned for April 22nd from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. It'll be in Zoom format as the fall was, and we are hoping to further gain insight on what the campus needs so that we can best serve and shared governance can represent our constituencies properly. And then elections are being held later in the semester for all shared governance bodies. The Council for Operational Issues actually has no elected positions up for re-election. But of course, we are sharing the information with that body as well, for they can nominate for other bodies as well. And then one final item is today we received a presentation on the Electronic Information Technology Committee for procurement of new technologies moving forward, so that information can be shared with the Council for Operational Issues constituencies as well. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Questions for Brittany? Thank you, Brittany. 5.4, Civic Engagement, Carla.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for letting me join you all today. So as Civic Engagement Coordinator, I'm relatively new in the position, but not new in the field of civic engagement. So I've been doing a lot of this work already. I just now have a title and a little extra time to work on it. So I'm excited moving forward in this position. So I've been working hard on trying to build relationships across the campus, across the divisions, to bring civic engagement together. Everyone has sort of an idea how they want to do it. So I'm trying to get different groups together so I can be a part of it, or we can work collaboratively. I've been working with Student Assembly and the Student Activities Subcommittee to try to bring some programming together, and the students would like a session on voting. So even after having the big election in November, many of them feel they're still a bit uneducated on that. And the good thing is I'm also a member of the Civic Engagement Board and a member of the Subcommittee on Voter Engagement. And we're working real hard on how we can improve information that's distributed to voters. And we're meeting with representatives from the Board of Elections in a couple of weeks So all that's going to tie very nicely together. So when I meet with the students, I'll be up to date on everything current with Broome County Board of Elections and be able to share that information. But the most important thing is, I'm closing my window, it's loud out there. The most important thing is combating the misinformation, right? That students seem to latch onto because they're always on their social media accounts, as I chastise them frequently in class, not to be on, but to be reading credible sources. So we also talk a lot about media literacy in class, and I have a feeling that could be another topic that we address through student government is media literacy, what's credible and what's not. So we're working on that as well. I've been asked to join the President's Task Force on Diversity because I think that's another area where we can infuse civic engagement. And I've been, as Dr. Drum talked about, involved in some of these sessions that we've had on campus, talking about diversity and talking about what happened in the Capitol on January 6th, and this heightened awareness of inequities involving race and minorities and gender inequities as well. So I've been engaged in some of these sessions. We've had Meeting the Moment. We did a panel discussion on that where we talked a lot about the differences in the Black Lives Matter movement and how the protesters were treated as they broke through the doors of the Congress, and then also the Rhapsody in Black panel discussion. So we're trying to get students who are engaged in these things, in these discussions, and I've been able to participate in them as well. I'm also a director at large of the League of Women Voters. So again, my belonging to that group as well brings SUNY Broome into that organization. And I work very closely with Binghamton University and the League of Women Voters as we work very hard to put on different civic engagement activities, including hosting the debate for the 22nd Congressional District between Congressmember Brindisi and Challenger Tenney, who has now, of course, flipped that seat. So we conducted that at WSKG Studios back in October. So again, SUNY Broome was part of that. And then I was helpful in getting the TurboVote software program here on campus, which was an electronic way of getting students registered to vote. And especially it was well timed because with COVID, students weren't able to do that in person. So we were able to push that out to the campus and help them get registered to vote using an electronic system. So, and then I'm participating in a professional development program called Mending the Fabric of Democracy, Teaching Civic Readiness. And again, I'm hoping from that to also develop additional civic engagement programming on campus and incorporate more ways that students can get involved. So that's what I've done so far. Oh, I've also conducted some deliberations around policing, and then had the absolute joy of having one of our local training officers come to campus today. I only asked him yesterday, and he presented to 2 of my classes. So we had some conversations around what does it mean to defund the police? Is that the right approach? And then we had a police officer come to class and talk to us a whole bunch about how our officers trained and maybe dispel some of those myths about them maybe not being as poorly trained as students think they are. And you did a great job today correcting some of those myths that are out there. So doing my best to bring some civic engagement to class, to campus, especially in light of COVID and our virtual world. And I'm hoping to broaden all of this out more in the fall. Any
Sounds
questions?
like you've been very, very busy. Any questions for
I
Carla?
do have one question, and I'm unmuted. Good. Okay. I wanted to just ask you how you help students find credible sources of information, because very often news media, CNN, blah, blah, they're not necessarily teaching about the way the system works, the way the system of voting works. They're talking about what's happening right now, and they report on the politics. He said, she said, he said, she's fighting. And so that's not, so how do you identify credible sources and how do you pass that information on to students?
Well, what I work on, at least in class, and again, I'd like to build this out and do some kind of presentation, but keep them off social media first of all, right? And keep them out of opinion pages and keep them more onto the more credible journals, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, but also to take a deeper dive and look into the research behind, for example, fraudulent voting. They think that's a real thing. So let's do some research and let's use some of the research out there that disputes that. So we actually take some time into looking into what those sources are. And off the top of my head, I can't spew them out at you, but I have those resources that I share with them in class. I use a lot of Ballotpedia, which is an excellent objective website. When we watched President Biden give his address to the nation, it wasn't the State of the Union. I'm still waiting for that. He's disappointed me so far. But his most recent address, we fact checked it, and I use PolitiFact. That's one of the organizations I like to use. So I use a variety of sources in class, but yeah, I mean, I'm well aware that CNN is very biased, of course, and so is Fox News and most of the main media sites, of course. So we don't rely on that, but my first goal is to get them off of social media because that's where all that biased information that they're getting, and they just, when I ask them where they heard whatever they're bringing into class to tell me about, Facebook, Twitter, so they're not even going to something reasonably informative. And yet I asked them to be reading the New York Times or Wall Street Journal for class, and they're still relying more on their social media to get their news. So my first goal is to just get off those sites. Does that
that's great. I just wondered, and I do have one little follow-up, and that is, how do you teach them to recognize the difference between opinion and reporting?
Well, again, we talk about, first of all, where in the journals, like the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal, what is an opinion-based article, right? And then what is not. And so I tell them to stay out of those sections so that they understand what is more objective, right? And then I'm teaching them how to develop their opinion in class. So when they're writing stuff for me, they have to choose articles that are not opinion-based. And then they have to develop their own opinion. So that's basically what I've been doing so far.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Carla.
Yeah.
5.5 Student Affairs Update, Dr. Ross Scott.
Hi, good afternoon. I tried to, with my report, paint a picture of where we are with regards to DEI from a student and staffing perspective, notwithstanding the 25-point action plan that the chancellor sent out to all the campuses. When we look at Broome, and it's not just Broome, it's across the SUNY system, there's a lot of work that has to be done with DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. One of the things that will help us and has helped in working with Dr. Kim McLean and institutional research, we're going to be better able to track our student progress, particularly the underrepresented minorities, the URM students, their longitudinal progress. We're also going to be able to disaggregate the academic success of the students, which will help us pinpoint and address issues impacting their degree progress. But we're just not there yet. We're just getting started on that. One of the programs that's intended to address the recruitment, retention, and graduation rates of URM students is EOP. And we really count on the 2 staff members that are charged with improving the access and success of about 80 underrepresented minority and first-gen and low-income students. Mind you, there are many more students across the campus that need the support, but their strategies that are pretty successful include a summer success boot camp, intrusive intervention throughout the term, including the use of the early alert system, mandatory workshops, and constant communication. And for the most part, from fall to spring, they can retain about 80% of their students. But because there's a need to scale up, I've asked the director of ELP, Vanessa, to help identify organizations with the mission of supporting college-bound underrepresented minority students. Thus far, we've had a few meetings to meet the goal, and it has turned into I'm sorry, the meetings have turned into an opportunity to really cultivate some relationships, which I hope will in turn support Broome and show people that Broome is a great place to come and learn, and very welcoming. I've got 2 graduate interns that are working on projects that are designed to enhance underrepresented minority student enrollment. One is a strategic enrollment management plan for the student village. We know that the vast majority of the students are recruited from downstate. The vast majority of those students are underrepresented minorities, but I don't want the village to become a revolving door where the students aren't successful. And so we're working on a strategic enrollment management plan that will include onboarding interventions, intrusive academic advising, and helping them get engaged in the college life. Another intern is a social work student who is helping to create a framework to work with agencies that support students at risk, particularly underrepresented minority students. And I'm hoping that I can pilot that in the fall with the intention of moving the needle in the fall of 22. We are working with foster care, homeless students, and justice involved students. So I'm hoping that that will have real impact for us, particularly when we're talking about trying to take students out of an environment that is at risk, using the student village as an opportunity to help students change that narrative and to start fresh. Other variables that I know that are impacting underrepresented minority students is the cost of attendance. If we look at the residential students who supposedly get full aid, there is still a $1,500 gap every semester. The students leave, they can finish their first year, $10,000 with student loan debt. So the goal is to become much more intentional about sharing the cost and helping students understand that this is an investment and you might have to take on a summer job to save some money. That's going to be really important. And one of the strategies that we're hoping will work will have students apply. When they apply for housing, they apply for the scholarship at the same time, because the scholarship application is, for all intents and purposes, a one-pager where students don't have to look and see what they might qualify for. The foundation will sort that out for them and consider them for scholarships. Because we are doing much more outreach, that outreach will include referrals to financial aid. In addition to helping underrepresented minority students understand the cost of attendance, helping them know and do educational planning is also key. So one of the things with working with academic affairs, students who are liberal arts and business resident students have an assigned advisor. My goal is to make sure that all students living in the student village have an educational plan. And the ultimate goal is to scale that up to all underrepresented minority students. The other thing that we're working on, because having students have a sense of purpose and belonging is critical to their success through campus life under the leadership of Dean Cordisco. We still have our partnership with the mentoring partnership with Union Endicott. We're branching out to Johnson City. The Men of Excellence and the PEP Squad had their ebbs and flows in terms of engagement, but we're trying to push to increase participation because those students have a tendency to do well. Moving from the students to academic affairs and what's going on in the classroom, I'm going to ask Dr. Haynes to share where we are with the ILO. I'm happy that the Diversity Task Force Subcommittee worked on an institutional learning outcome with the full support of Dr. Haynes. She can share more about the institutional learning outcome for diversity, and then I will finish up.
So this is really a big step, and I think something that, and I know that everyone at the college is very proud of, that we've been able to accomplish. And that was working this summer with the PTODI, with all of the racial incidents that were occurring around the country. And the conversation became quite active in PTODI. And the campus was trying to figure out how to address that. And in order to make sure that all students understand that and deal with racism and address it, we decided the best way to do that would be to have an institutional learning outcome where all programs in the college, transfer programs, AAS programs, AOS degree programs, actually have to meet this outcome. And so there's been a lot of conversation. There was a subcommittee from PTODI who worked with the General Education Committee, because really our institutional learning outcomes are in fact general education. So that's all students are expected to get this competency. So we worked very hard with the General Education Committee and with the PTODI to come up with an institutional learning outcome. It's gone through several iterations, and it's gone back and forth, and it's been discussed, and it's been edited. And once the committee and the General Education Committee had a draft of the institutional learning outcome, that we partnered with PTODI and General Ed and went to all of the divisions to talk about it, get feedback, have discussion, and continue to edit that. And we finally landed on one that we're pretty proud of. It started much grander, but I really think this is a great start. And I think we're probably one of the first community colleges to have this. But our institutional learning outcome is racial justice equity. And the measurable statement that what goes along with that is, within a given field or discipline, students will identify the consequences of racism in the United States at the individual, group, and systemic levels. So all departments now, so this was endorsed by PTODI. The General Education Committee is actually the committee that sends that recommendation to me. I took that recommendation to our Committee on Academic Issues. They talked about it. They took it back to their constituents. And yesterday, I'm very happy to say that they endorsed it almost unanimously. And so that was endorsed by the CAI. And then we took it today to Executive Council, who also endorsed it. So we're very excited to have this ILO. There's a lot of work to do. We know that we'll need to work with the departments to help them to figure out how to infuse this within their program. We have some professional development funding, and we're going to try to be creative and figure out how to incentivize and get people to get the training, perhaps by division, so that people can support each other in figuring out how to accomplish this. It's obviously not an easy topic, but I think that the majority of the college is ready to take this on. And so, we're really proud of it. I think it's a really good start, and I'm really proud of the governance process in the way that this really was handled, and really exactly how college governance should work. So we're really excited, and we think we're going to build on this and continue to work on this. So I'll turn it back over to you, Carol.
Thank you, Penny. And finally, one of the most challenging aspects of DEI is trying to cultivate a community that's reflective of our population that we serve. And we're no different than any of the other SUNY campuses. If you look at our demographics, we have 90% white employees with 64% white students. Black employees are 2% of our population with 13% Black students. And if you look at the Latinx employees, they're only 1% compared to 5% of the students. And so that's merely a telling sign that we've got work to do. Now, mind you, we participate in Prodigy, which is the statewide, the SUNY system pipeline for helping campuses recruit and maintain and create pipelines for underrepresented minority faculty members. We've got one Black female faculty member in STEM and the other is a white female in STEM. With Dr. Haynes, we worked on creating a faculty fellows program, hoping that we can recruit graduate students to help us create a pipeline for our academy. But we also need to do a lot more. And so working on assessing our hiring practices, what we're doing and where we can improve, what are the training needs for tracking and monitoring our processes, excuse me, is going to be important. And lastly, one of the action points for the chancellor was assessing the role, the effectiveness of the role of the CDOs. And this role is no different. One of the things that I know will help support us moving the needle is for us to be able to hire somebody to work with me. And we will be working on that in the near future, because not only is diversity, equity, and inclusion, it's not just a student thing, it's an institutional thing. And so I believe at this point, we're moving in the right direction with the support and some of the strategies that we have in place to scale up what we're doing now. And that's my report, unless there are any questions.
Any questions? Dr. Ross, Dr. Haynes, thank you. We applaud your efforts. It seems like you have a tremendous amount on your plate, and it looks like you're attacking each issue one by one and moving them forward, which on behalf of the board, we are very appreciative.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I can, I want to thank Penny and Carol as well for and the deans, as well as all the faculty and staff who were involved in this. Institutional learning outcomes are very hard to get a culture to agree on, no matter what the focus is. You can imagine, given what's going on in our broader world out there, how challenging this particular one was to take on. So I applaud their efforts and everyone's efforts to get us to this point. As hard as that work is, the hard work is just beginning. As we start to have these conversations to lead to the learning outcomes, we know we're not going to change hearts and minds of some folks, but hopefully we can have good academic dialogue, and that's the point here, is to have the academic dialogue on the issues, and in the end, some may agree to disagree. Hopefully they won't boil over, but we need to be prepared to have the conversations, the difficult conversations, and the challenges that go along with that as we move forward with this. So thank you to everyone involved. It's a great effort. I appreciate it very much.
Anthony, it's Kathy. I would just like to also echo, I think it's amazing work. I think all of our institutions are trying to be proactive and to work through it, but it is a lot of hard work but well worth it. But this is nothing short of extraordinary. I'm really impressed, and so very supportive and very impressed with what you just presented.
Yeah, it's a big lift, and they're doing a phenomenal job.
We will have it on the agenda next month. It just got passed yesterday, so there wasn't time, but we'll have it on the agenda next month to ask the board to formally endorse it. I mean, you would in a strategic plan, but obviously this isn't even inserted in the strategic plan yet, though it will be.
Thank you, Dr. Drum. We'll move on to 5.6, student assembly update. Michael, do you have anything to share with us?
Good afternoon. Student Assembly, we've had some challenges. The resignation of our president that was just within the last week. Now Tatiana Young is now our new president. Seal also resigned as trustee. I'm the new trustee for Student Assembly as well. We also picked up another senator that was last week, and we are going to be working on a virtual homeless awareness event. We have secured a speaker that's going to be willing to record a 3-segment video of how he became homeless, how his experiences as being homeless, and how he got out. And I'm sorry that it's so lean, but that's all I've got for now.
Thank you, Michael. We got a little building to do. 5.7, I don't see Kathy on the call, but maybe I'm mistaken here.
No, she said she would be out of town. She didn't know if she'd be able to get on or not, but she did submit her report.
Okay, so the report is as in the what was received. So we'll move on to 5.8, facilities update. Mr. Legakis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You have my report in front of you. Let me highlight a few things, and I'll try to keep this brief. We've got an ongoing effort with all of our staff to clean up campus. I mean, it's been a rough winter and a lot of snow and ice damage, but within the next 3-4 weeks, we should have things in pretty good shape. One of the focuses as we get ready for reopening school in the fall is to create as much outdoor space, usable outdoor space across campus as we can, whether through patios or through pavilions, but to use that to support both the academic and the social needs of the students on the campus, as well as administrative needs if and when necessary. So that effort will be ongoing. As we move toward reopening as well, and in addition to the fact that we try to bring as much fresh air into the buildings as we can, we are evaluating the installation of what are called bipolar ionization units. And in the simplest terms, these units eliminate airborne contaminants and make the air of a much higher quality. My staff and I had a very good meeting with both Lisa Hughes and with Kim McLean with regard to handicapped accessibility across campus, reviewing some of the areas that we need to focus on and prioritizing those efforts, starting with interior signage. So that was a very positive and a very welcome outcome of that meeting. And lastly, you can see that we've got 5 or 6 major projects that we're working on getting design and architectural contracts finalized for. The intent being to get most of that work, hopefully, underway this summer. Roof replacement work, facade work, parking lot work, like I said, a lot of infrastructure work. But one of the academic elements that we're going to be pursuing is the relocation of our photo lab in the old science building from an area that's currently cramped and not accessible for handicapped students to one that's much more accessible and much more spacious. So that I'm looking forward to the beginning and the completion of that project. That pretty much summarizes where we're at. I would be more than happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Dave? Thank you very much. Michael, it appears 5.8, 5.9, I'm sorry, 5.9, 5.10, and 5.11 are standard. Is that accurate?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, 5.12, human resource update, Lynn?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The personnel report reflecting February 2021 is all standard activity.
Thank you. 5.13, budget and finance update. Michael?
So you had the monthly forecast in the packet. I just a couple of items just coming out of the audited financial statement report that Bonadio had earlier today. A couple of key finance staff are actually participating at the board meeting, Jeanette Tillotson and Julie Lakin. I just want to recognize them. the key finance people who were responsible for the preparation and submission of all the information that Bonadil requires. That kind of was piggyback on, I think I had indicated to the board last month that U.S. Department of Education came in and did an audit of the Title IV federal financial aid. I think it's the first time they've done an audit in about 20 years of the college. And similar to the audited financial statements, there were no findings, and the auditors were very exemplary of the staff and the documentation and the policies and procedures. So it never becomes a problem until it's identified as a problem. And we've really had clean audits on the financial statements for more than the time that I've been at the college. So just want to applaud the senior finance team for a job well done. Just the budget forecast, we're kind of in the 3-year time frame, just completed the audited financial statements. The first column of the report shows you last year's actual, which ties to the audited financial statements. You'll see at the very bottom that we did allocate most of the CARES Act institutional funds to last year, about a little under 2.2 million. The college also allocated about 260,000 directly to students to provide students a partial refund for room and board based on the fact that the dorms were closed in mid-March of last year due to COVID. So the college was able to provide some funding, which then alleviates some of the financial stress that both the Faculty Student Association Corporation and the Housing Corporation would have otherwise had to provide those refunds. So we ended up eking out about a $90,000 net asset number for last year. It was our 4th year to have a balanced budget, so we're very pleased with that. That's one of the major financial goals that was identified for Middle States, was to have a balanced budget and also to build unrestricted fund balance from 4 years ago, when it was at about a 5% level, or about 2.5 million, to the current approximate 5.7 million, which is a little over 10%. So we've hit the target of the mid-range between 5 and 15% that most of the major financial entities, SUNY, U.S. Department of Education, and Government Finance Officers Association all really recommend about at least a 10% unrestricted net assets. The current year's budget, which we're a little over halfway through, we are continuing, we being budget and finance, continuing to forecast a balanced budget. The major change has been the governor, with less than a week left in the state's current fiscal year, rather than proposing a 20% state aid cut to community colleges in their current year, has committed that at this point in time, with a week left, and things could still change, that they're proposing a 5% reduction in our community college student FTE state aid. It still translates to about a $600 and ballpark $50,000 cut, but certainly is much better than a $2.5 million cut. Having said that, the college is still trying to address significant enrollment declines, with revenues currently projected to be about 4.7 million less than the adopted budget. So on the expense side, you will see that the college continues to forecast significant spending reductions in the payroll and benefit area, primarily for sections that were reduced based on the fact that enrollment had declined. And in addition, the college has done a very good job of trying to maintain vacant positions to the extent practical. So college continues to forecast a balanced budget for this year. And then meanwhile, the college is finalizing the preparation for next year's budget, which starts on September 1st. As I'm sure you're all well aware, the state budget for their new fiscal year beginning on April 1st, there's a lot of negotiations going on among the two houses and the governor's office. We expect a budget to be passed by April 1st. That'll give us a final figure for state aid that we can estimate for next year's budget, as well as some other assumptions. So the college expects to present next year's budget to the board at the April meeting. I will say that at this point, the college anticipates a no tuition increase for next year and no student fee increases for next year, just given the extraordinary challenges that the student population has had to face, especially the community college student population well over the last year. So we're still modifying some things, but those always are very key areas that I know the board is particularly interested in, and we're really trying to stay competitive and be mindful of students' ability to pay going into next year. And that concludes my report for this month, Mr. Chair.
Any questions for Michael? Great job as always, and I think I'm going to name you Merlin, as I said before. You're definitely a wizard when it comes to numbers and balancing budgets. Thank you. Item 5.14, it's informational, it's in your packet. Item 5.15, Student Village Housing Report, Dr. Ross.
It's a standard report, but the good news is we have hired a young man to serve as a new resident director. His name is Callis Nunes. He is from downstate. He's a graduate of SUNY Potsdam, served as an RA for 3 years at Potsdam. So we look forward to him joining the team. And we're in the search for a housing director that closes on April the 2nd. We hope to have somebody identified by mid-May for that position.
Great, thank you for the update. 5.16 media update. Jesse, do you have anything you want to share?
Nope, the media highlights and feature stories are there in the packet. Just let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Jesse. Can I have a motion to go in an executive session?
So moved.
Second.
I know Jim seconded. I don't know who the first was there. I'm just going to pick, I think it was.
Kathy was.
Kathy, okay.
Yep.
Diana,
This
can
is
you?
discuss a personnel matter.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah.
It should be brief.
Very brief.
All right, we're all going to go into the breakout room.
Do we leave, Diana?
You can stay or you can leave. I'm just, I'll be here.
I'll leave. Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
They're all.
Night.
Thanks, Diana. Everyone have a good night.
Too. Sorry, Bob.
There we are.
Yep.
Yeah, we have everybody back. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I make the motion.
Motion by Barb, second. Sharon, I saw you raise your hand. You're still muted, but
Second.
meeting's adjourned. Sharon,
Anthony,
best- Yes.
who made the motion to come out of executive session?
It was Barb and seconded by Jim.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Good.
Thank you.
Very
Thank you,
good.
everybody. Have a great day.
Thank
Take care,
you.
everyone.